Criticizing America is unpatriotic. Those people should get out of the country. Hey, what's that? What, this? This is my gun, in case the government turns tyrannical. You can't trust the government, bro. Hey everyone, welcome back to Consistency Please, where I apply the lost art of critical thinking to important issues of the day. The subject of this video is inspired by a meme a friend of mine showed me a few months ago. Here it is, right here. It reads, "People need to start respecting the flag of the government I'm stockpiling arms against." The joke here, of course, is supposed to be in the alleged contradiction and being outraged at disrespect of, or at least criticism of, America and the American government, all the while stockpiling arms against America in the event that it becomes tyrannical, which is thought to be a live possibility. Here's a pretty famous example of this sort of outrage from a pretty strong supporter of the Second Amendment.
Oh, Colin Kaepernick, I've got some final thoughts for you, bud. See, our buddy Colin decided not to stand for the national anthem because, well, he will not stand to show pride in a flag or a country that oppresses black people. For him, it's bigger than football. He would be selfish to look the other way. After all, according to Kaepernick, there are bodies in the street and people getting paid leave and getting away with murder. So let me go ahead and eviscerate this mouth diarrhea for you sentence by sentence. Here we go. Colin, I support the First Amendment. I support your right to freedom of speech and expression. Go for it, bud. It's this country, the country that you have so much disdain for, that allows you the right to speak your mind. It protects your right to be a whiny, indulgent, attention-seeking crybaby. It also protects my right to shred you for it. See, the national anthem and our flag, they are not symbols of black America, white America, brown America, or purple America for that matter. There are patriots of every race that have fought and died for this country, and we honor the flag and sing the anthem as a reminder. And Colin, if this country disgusts you so much, leave. I guarantee there are thousands and thousands of people around the world that would gladly take your spot. Because those that don't live under this flag are banging on the door to get in, not get out. Remember that.
Can we just take a moment to appreciate the absolute purity of that rage? That's pretty pungent stuff. Okay, back to the meme. I think whether or not this meme has a point depends on a critical distinction that's often not made when people are discussing the appropriateness of criticizing America or the American government. That distinction is between objecting to the content of a particular criticism of America and the American government versus objecting to the very act of criticizing America and the American government, regardless of the content of that criticism. It seems clear to me that someone who's sufficiently skeptical of the government so as to bear arms against it can consistently object to a particular criticism of America. They might think it's wrong-headed or rooted in an overly negative picture of what America's like. So to take the example from the video, I think that they can consistently object to the claims of a group like Black Lives Matter. They can think that they're rooted in an overly demonized picture of the police. Or suppose someone's criticism of America was at least partly directed at the fundamental principles of America, like freedom of speech. I think pro-Second Amendment people can consistently point out, and I personally think it's fair to point out, that it's the very foundational principles of America, the freedoms that it gives you and protects, that enables you to make those criticisms in the first place. America sucks. This criticism made possible by the First Amendment of the American Constitution. This might actually be a reason why many people have a problem with NFL players kneeling during the national anthem. They might take them to be partly criticizing the fundamental principles of America, even if the kneelers don't intend that message. But can a proponent of the Second Amendment as a check on governmental tyranny consistently object to the very act of criticizing America, in and of itself, regardless of the content of that criticism? I don't see how. The importance of the right to bear arms against a check on possible governmental tyranny depends on that being a live possibility. And it being a live possibility depends upon governments being inherently untrustworthy, or at least inherently open to doubt. But if you really felt this way, why would you object to the very act of criticizing America, whether it's its laws, its enforcement of those laws, or its foreign policy? By the way, I have to point this out here. There's more than a little irony in left-wing pundits making fun of the idea of the government turning tyrannical, all the while making these really strong comparisons between Donald Trump and Hitler.
You're saying there's no instance, even in the abstract, when liberty would need to be preserved at the point of a weapon? I'm not saying...
Correct. That's correct.
At no
That's
point.
zero.
We're in 1776.
We're past it.
In 1776.
No.
So history's over.
You said present tense.
I'm not talking...
As of 2013, and oh, by the way, a long time before that, this country long past the point where you would ever have to rise
tell
in
that to the
arms
rebels in
against this
Syria.
guy.
Germany was not some weird place when Adolf Hitler became chancellor, came to power. Richard Cohen sees the Germany of that time as being not all that different from other countries. And he is worried because, quote, in 1933, Germany chose a sociopathic liar as its leader. If the polls are to be believed, we may do the same.
As a matter of fact, Liberal gun ownership spiked when Trump got elected. So after years of making fun of this idea, they all of a sudden embraced this possibility. Irony much. Anyways, one of the beauties of this country is that it permits dissent directed at itself, even its fundamental principles, precisely because the government is supposed to always be subject to the voice and rule of the people. Absolutely nothing is beyond the searching criticism of the American people, including the Constitution itself, which is why the founders put in place a mechanism to amend the Constitution if people feel that it's necessary to do so. In America, the government is of the people, by the people, and for the people, which is why it's always open to criticism, revision, and even possibly rebellion. This is exactly why flag burning as an act of protest is as offensive as it is constitutional. And it's also why people have the right to bear arms in order to ensure that the government never becomes tyrannical. As a supporter of robust Second Amendment protections, rooted in a healthy skepticism of America, you should welcome criticism of America as criticism, even if you strongly disagree with the content of that criticism. Even criticism you consider to be absolutely stupid is deeply American, and that includes criticism of America's fundamental principles. Just as being prepared to overthrow the government in the event that it becomes tyrannical is deeply American. America was born of skepticism of the government. Blind patriotism never was and never will be an American attitude. So just to sum up, objecting to the content of a particular criticism of America? A-okay. Objecting to the very act of criticizing America? Inconsistent with the rationale that justifies the Second Amendment. Well, that's all I have for you today. If the relationship between the Second Amendment and criticism of America is something that interests you, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Just be sure to keep it respectful. And if you're new to the channel and you like this sort of content, please consider subscribing. Just be sure to hit that little bell icon so you're notified when I post a new video. Until our next libation to the philosophy gods, see ya!